Joining us now, it's really becoming a Morning Joe regular, the mayor of Jerusalem, Mayor Nir Barakat. Thank you very much for being on the show. We still have Sam Stein, Nora O'Donnell, and Willie and Mike in New York. A lot has happened since we've last seen you. And so let's just catch up first and talk a little bit about Jerusalem and the future there as well. But the Arab awakening, the death of Osama bin Laden, your reaction and reflections from your perspective.
Well, I think with respect to the death of Osama bin Laden, we strongly believe that people that use terror should be brought to trial or pay the price. Osama bin Laden was a terrorist, mean terrorist, and Israelis and Americans share same values with this respect. Hunt them down, make sure it's not worthwhile being a terrorist. So I really commend and congratulate the President and the U.S. people and the free world for bringing justice to the world.
Now, you have recently said that Jerusalem would never work as a divided city, and that even means if there's no peace deal with the Palestinians, you won't change your mind. Why? If you could lay out for us, basically, why wouldn't it work?
The role of Jerusalem is to be open for the benefit of the world to enjoy. And today, Jerusalem is an international, open city, and since its unification, never was freedom of religion as strong and total as it is right now under Israeli sovereignty. And today, if you look at tourism and look into the future, to have more and more people from all different faiths come and enjoy the city of Jerusalem, it has to work as a city, as a united city. And by the way, there's not one good example in the world for a working model of a city that was ever split that stayed functional. They either become dysfunctional or get reunited again. So why go there in the first place? We have been proven worthy of maintaining an open and free freedom of religion in our city. Today, good things are happening in the city. Tourism is up. People are happy to come and go and enjoy the city of Jerusalem, both Jews, Muslims, and Christians. The majority of the Arabs, the Muslims and Christians in Jerusalem, don't want God forbid, splitting the city into two. So from all of those practical perspectives, put aside our historical rights and the fact that nobody in the last 2,000 years, we've gone through more than 10 conquerors in the city of Jerusalem. Nobody has ever declared Jerusalem as their capital, but the Jewish people. So I'm putting that right aside a second. Even looking into the future, we've proven worthy of a united city that gets the best for all of the world to enjoy.
All right, Sam Stein.
Obviously, the big news in your region is the deal between Hamas and Fatah. And I think it's fair to say, or at least question, whether or not Israel's settlement policy and also tangentially the policy towards Jerusalem sort of forced this deal to come to fruition. Is it not fair to say that spreading out settlements actually drove Fatah into Hamas's arms?
Well, the Hamas believes in the destruction of Israel. They believe in wiping us out. Just hear their charter, hear what they have to say, see what they teach at schools, and you'll understand that they're not peace.
I'm not commenting on Hamas. I'm wondering if Israel's policies had any role to play in this deal coming to fruition.
Well, I don't think the right thing is to try and look for excuses why the Hamas is piggyback riding on the Palestinian Authority and thinking salami-style negotiations. Let's let the Palestinian Authority get the first slice, 67 borders, and then we'll deal with the rest.
And what do you think the United States' response to this should be? Because obviously the United States has said Hamas is a terrorist organization. On the flip side, they are supportive of Fatah in some respects. It's a delicate balance for this government. What would you like to see them do?
Well, I think this government has just proven how it deals with terrorists. And the Hamas is a terrorist organization that, by the way, democratically is trying to take over the Palestinian Authority. And by the way, we remember, just last week was the Holocaust Memorial Day for the Jewish people. We remember how the Nazis took over democratically in Germany. And not only in our region, which is quite not stable. The Israeli people understand what's going on. We're not fools. We understand that the Hamas is trying to piggyback ride, use the platform of the Palestinian Authority to cut the first phase the first slice of a deal,
Sure.
and then we'll deal with the rest.
So to be clear, you see parallels between Nazi Germany and Hamas right now, trying to come to power through democratic means?
Not only these are people that are calling for the destruction of the state and the Jewish people. They they celebrate. I remember the faces of my friends. I landed September 11 in New York. I remember the faces of my American friends, shocked to see the dancing in the street in Gaza. The same people that are now shocked to see how the Hamas praises the Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
It's the same people. And so when you deal with these people, you have to understand that they're not really seeking peace. If it's fine to commit suicide for the holy war, it's also fine to lie. And it's also fine to take advantage of the Western world when we're coming in good faith to the negotiating table.
Okay.
Nora?
When you say no divided Jerusalem, but what aren't you saying no Palestinian state?
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, look, I see what they teach at schools. First, I would like to see the Palestinian Authority train and teach people at schools to promote life, not necessarily to promote killing innocent people. First phase. Second phase, which I think is very, very important when we deal with the Palestinian Authority, is sit down with the Israeli government and work out a deal. We don't have to rush to close a big deal that will never work. Take it in phases. You know, there's an Israeli...
You're already saying there's no deal. I mean, you don't want a deal. You don't want...
No, that's not true. If the condition is divide Jerusalem, then there's no deal. If there's a discussion on how do we make everything work, make Jerusalem work for the benefit of all residents, make Palestinian Authority and Israel work together, seek peace, well, let's discuss it.
What about recognition by the UN for the Palestinian state?
Well, I believe this will create huge turmoil in the region. It's not defined. What are we talking about? Once you define, the UN will define virtual borders. What does that mean? Who polices the areas? Do you see Palestinian Authority police moving to the Israeli part? I don't see that happening. So you're actually taking a quite stable zone, Israel, Jerusalem, and you're destabilizing it because there's no definition of who does what. And by doing that, you're actually promoting chaos in an area. And if you look at what's happening in our region, there's one island of stability.
You want clarity. You don't want virtual borders. You don't want a lack of clarity.
I think the world does.
And yet you don't want a division either, which would be clear.
Well, I said, no division of Jerusalem.
Right.
Clearly, we can discuss mutual relationships. We can discuss mutual lives. We can discuss many, many elements of creating peace and trust. Right now, the trust between the parties is practically, especially now with the Hamas on board, is 0 to negative. There's no way Israeli government and Israeli people, nor the U.S. should trust the Hamas. If and when they become trustworthy, let's discuss a stable deal that works. Don't divide Jerusalem because we know this will destabilize the whole region, and there's not one good example of a working model like this. So the answer is yes to peace, but be very, very cautious and not deal with the Hamas.
Very challenging, very complicated. Mayor Nir Barakat, thank you very much for being back on the show.